Today I fucked up by smacking my wife in front of the mailman. Obligatory, this didn't happen today, but a few years ago. We live in a southeastern US state, where the summers are hot, the people are, mostly, friendly, and yellow jackets are a thing, beyond just being a university mascot. Those readers who have had experience with yellow jackets understand how aggressive they are. When you see yellow jackets you run fast, because they will chase you down, and their stings are vicious. My wife and I were working in the front yard one day, and she unknowingly exposed a yellow jacket nest. They came swarming out and went directly at her, forcing her to run away, and the clearest path was into the street. Fortunately we live on a street with very little traffic. I saw what was happening and ran over to help. The good news was she got far enough away that most of the yellow jackets gave up. The bad news was, two of them were more stubborn than the others, and were on her back crawling toward her neck. I immediately began smacking at her back to try to kill or stun the yellow jackets, and she was screaming incoherently. We finally succeeded in getting the yellow jackets off and happened to turn around and see the mailman staring at us. Just stopped at our mailbox, mouth agape, watching me beat the heck out of my wife's back and her yelling. Awkward standoff as he tried to process the scene. After much pleading and explaining, we were able to keep him from calling the police. But from that point on, whenever we were outside while the mailman drove by, we got some pretty weird looks. All in all, it turned out okay. She didn't get stung, the police were never called, and we are still married. 27 years last January. Too long didn't read. Yellow jackets were attacking my wife, and the mailman saw me hitting her to get them off. Edit, I only occasionally post on Reddit, so this has been a lot of fun for me. So many good comments and I even got some awards. Thank you all for making my day. I have found 3 f***ing nests this way. I say 3 nests, but I found the third one several times. As in, we soaked the nest with spray, don't see them, but the next time I mow, there they are. The first time my poor husband is sitting on the couch, when I came running in, ripping my clothes off and screaming. Good thing we didn't have anyone over, because that wouldn't have stopped me. I'm not allergic but I get a pretty severe reaction. I also had to spray a nest multiple times to finally shut it down. While I hate yellow jackets, I admit to admiring their tenacity. For whatever reason I thought the smacking would be sexual. I wasn't let down. Reminds me when I was around 8 and my family just relocated to a new state, southern as well. We were at a church softball game. My parents had just joined the church less than a month previously, so we didn't really know anyone. All of a sudden this man started frantically and repeatedly batting my little brother's, 18 moss, legs. I froze at first. As soon as I remembered to move, my mother was at the scene trying to figure out why this stranger was not only beating her baby's legs, but now pulling off his pants. And that was our introduction to Georgia fire ants, and Dennis. My little brother decided to take a pause right in the middle of a mound. Dennis' quick reaction saved little man from a lot of pain, as he basically walked away unscathed. Imported fire ants can literally kill. They're all over the southern US. A 12-year-old middle school student was killed when he stepped into a fire ant bed and had an anaphylactic reaction. Parents didn't know their son was allergic to fire ant venom. Now all school events must have someone with an EpiPen, who is trained to use it, in attendance. When I was a kid, around 9 or 10 years old, I messed around with a hornet's nest and they came after me. I ran away screaming, and my older brother came running over to see what the problem was and started hitting my back to knock them off. My mom came outside to see what was going on, and started yelling at him for beating me, and she got even madder because he would not stop. I do not think I have ever seen her madder than at that moment. In the end, he either killed them or knocked them off me, and we explained to my mother what was going on. She then yelled at me for messing with the hornets in the first place. I do not think I have ever seen her madder than at that moment. Would you say she was madder than a hornet? The mailman saw me hitting her to get them off. Were they satisfied? No, they left unfinished. Today I fucked up by outing my girlfriend. So I go to a Catholic school and have been dating the headmistress's daughter. I'm also a girl. Now I will say I wasn't trying to be the bad girl who hits on the authority figure's child. I didn't even know who her mother was at the time and she hit on me. It was awkward and cute, so I played along. Eventually she just asked if I wanted to go out with her, and it is the most direct anyone has ever been with me. I obviously said yes, and then she started with the BTW, and I realized this wouldn't be an easy relationship to keep. Well, anyways, I love her. She's just so kind and gentle, and she looks so pretty when she spaces out and just stares off into nothing thinking about some random thing that popped into her head. And now that I'm done gushing, so we had sex. It was awful and awkward, and she clearly had no idea what she was doing. But it's okay, I didn't really have high expectations from somebody whose mom ran a Catholic school. So we started having sex often, and she got better. We tried to make sure we were subtle about it, and we had a rule of never at school to try and avoid dodging her mother. He got more confident really. I'm not gonna go into detail, but just know it was pretty good sex. But then I pulled her aside during free period and snuck out to my car for a quickie, in blatant violation of our own rules. Well, there we are, both naked, in a very compromising position. When I hear her go, I'm dead. I look up behind me, and sure enough, there's her mom, looking into my car, staring at me, naked. I have never been more terrified in my life. I very hastily get dressed and she drags us to her office. It was like a much worse version of the walk of shame. Well, I got expelled. I'm pretty much definitely not seeing my girlfriend until after graduation, if our relationship even survives this. So yeah, too long didn't read, got caught having sex by my girlfriend's mom, got expelled. So we started having sex often, and she got better. We tried to make sure we were subtle about it, and we had a rule of never at school to try and avoid dodging her mother. Thought that was most people's rule. Maybe I'm oblivious though. I can see from your replies to other comments that there doesn't seem to be any path forward legally speaking, and it really fucking sucks that it's going to be hard to maintain your relationship in the short term. But Emo, you should take some small solace in the fact that you can write some really fantastic / eye-catching application essays for college / professional school and beyond. Oh, I'm not going to college lol. I'm admittedly a terrible student. I don't have the grades or the brains for anything after high school, as much as I would love to get a degree. They expelled you but not her? That's some hypocrisy to try to defend. It's a private school. She's the headmistress's daughter. She 100% gets preferential treatment. I have read quite far down and nobody has mentioned this yet. Why for the love of God were you naked when having sex in a car in broad daylight on or near school property? Like, is subtlety a word you never heard of? Can't you just have loose clothes and grope around underneath or something? Clothes make certain things a lot less enjoyable. I chalk it up to stupidity. I'm an idiot. I think the outing was just the icing on the today I fucked up cake. Banging the daughter is going to get anyone into a heap of shit. That y'all got their lickety split is just extra sauce for the goose. I mean, it was just a moment where my desire for the sex was higher than my fear of repercussions. Worst part, graduation is in May. Today I fucked up by bringing a convicted pedophile into my office. So two things: 1, this didn't happen today. 2, a fair amount of information has been changed for obvious reasons. So 2 years ago I was working for a company, and my job was to produce online informative video content. Part of my job was to find experts in this industry and ask them to come in to be interviewed. So my boss and I were at this event, and this guy got up and gave this really interesting talk. He had left his extremely senior position in the industry to start this new business. Let's call him John Smith. His real name was fairly uncommon, which is important. We both thought that would make great content for us, so we spoke to him, and he was a really nice guy. He said he would love to come and be interviewed. So fast forward a couple of weeks and we're setting up the lights and cameras before he arrives, and I Google him to try and find his LinkedIn page. For some reason I decided to scroll past the first 5 results, and I see a news article about a huge child pornography case for this guy John Smith, jailed for 7 years. I said to my boss, Hey look, this is so unfortunate he shares the exact same name as this pedo. How terrible. He must get that all the time. My boss says, God yeah. Well, let's make this content do really well so it bumps that off the Google results. John Smith turns up, we get on like a house on fire. I really liked the guy. After he leaves we were packing down and I said, there's no way John Smith is the same John Smith, right? No way. No. So I said I'm just going to triple make sure, for peace of mind. Then I say, similar job title. Same industry, but he was convicted in America. We're all British. Wait. Former British boss of. Go to his LinkedIn profile. Between him quitting his senior role and starting this company there was a 7-year gap. And yep, it was him. So we deleted the footage, never called or spoke to him again, and never told our company about it. If they asked about it we just said the content wasn't really right for us. Then after work we went to the pub and literally sat in silence for 15 minutes. TL, Dr. Met a nice man, interviewed him for work. Infamous pedo had the same name but thought there was no way it was the same guy. It was the same guy. So, as a former prosecutor who handled a lot of kiddie sex cases, I can tell you this, people don't let the folks who look or act like monsters near their kids. Child predators wear their charm and reassuring personalities precisely the same way predators wear their camouflage in the wild. I've never had any issues arising from this, yet, but unfortunately Googling my full name, a combination of quite common names, none of which are related to my Reddit handle, does give an exact match to a registered child molester in the US. When I Google my name, the top results are a murderer and a dentist. Abusers usually do come off as very nice when you don't know them well. They practice being nice and likable on purpose to disarm people. Had something very similar happen to me. Worked with the man for a while. Towards the end I started thinking he was going to shoot my job up. Long story short, the man was drugging and raping prostitutes and had tons of child porn. I found all his evidence and now I hope he will rot in prison the rest of his life. I will never ever talk about someone's character again or vouch for a person. He seemed 100% fine until the police started closing in on him. Fucking hell. That's horrible. I hope it didn't affect you too much. I hope you feel like you can still trust your own judgment. There was no way of you knowing that. It's not your fault at all. Some other companies could learn a thing or two about background checks from you guys. I mean, you're right. But also we certainly could have done better. At least we caught it before anything actually went online.